Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Angela.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Emily.
This isn't a podcast for coaches. It's for you, for real people navigating real life. It's lighthearted, it's deep, and it's grounded in faith, friendship, and purpose.
And once a month, you can join us in our virtual Life Coach Lounge on Zoom.
So pull up a seat. The Life Coach Lounge is open. They say you can't win Survivor alone, yet so many of us are out here trying to build our own shelters, find our own food, and fight our own battles in total isolation. If you feel like you're at the bottom of the numbers and nobody has your back, you're in the right place. We're your Final Three Alliance, and today we're showing you how to find the tribe that actually keeps you alive and thriving. Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. All right, so before we start today's episode, you probably have a little glimpse and an idea of what we're going to be chit-chatting about today in the lounge. And I have to admit, this episode is definitely going to be more for the fans of the game Survivor. So if that's you, welcome. If it's not you, maybe we can convert you into a Survivor fan. So recently, the three of us, Angela, Emily, and I, realized that being a Survivor fan is actually something we all have in common, and it has never come up in the Marcos before. So now that there's season 50 out there making all kinds of waves, weekly after watching the episode, we'll light up in our text messages or in our Marcos, either agreeing or disagreeing on who we love in the cast and what their strategies are. But another thing that we were talking about recently is how the game Survivor actually plays into everyday life. We all have to learn how to not be a sore loser or how to stand up for ourselves. There's so many analogies that can be found in this game. So we're going to just touch on a few today and sit back, pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage. Maybe it's coconut water, and let's get to it. All right, so I'm going to ask my two friends here kind of a Survivor episode related life questions. So Angela, you're going to get a merge question. If the three of us were actually on an island together and the rules of the game just changed, the kids moved out, the career has shifted, which one of us, or some other rule in life has changed, which one of us is most likely to panic? Which one of us is most likely to be secretly counting the votes to make sure that we're safe? And which one of us is just chilling, just still lounging on the bamboo rack and not even participating?
Well, I love this so much. It reminds me of like basically what you're asking is who would be the one to outwit, who would be the one to outplay, and who would be the one to outlast. And it makes me think, Lisa, you would definitely outwit, because you would be kind of, I just picture you like when you're like talking to Claude all day with your phone, and you would be like chitting and chatting with everybody on both sides of the fence. So when the merge came, you would be in, not a problem. I think I would put as the outplay, because I mean, I am the queen of the poker face. Let's just admit it.
Fair enough.
And then Emily, I think you would be the sleeper. You would outlast all of us. You would be the one who goes into panic mode, but then garners all the sympathy from everybody on the tribe, and you would be the last man standing.
Yes. Emily is definitely one of those silent but deadly
Exactly.
players. Mm-hmm. Yep. And based on conversations Angela shared about how much she loves playing games, especially cards with her husbands, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. She's going to hold her face and you're not going to know what's coming. Okay, Emily, you're going to get a hidden idol question. If you could find a hidden immunity idol for one area of your life this week, meaning you get a get out of jail free card for one responsibility or nagging stressor in your life, what would you use it on?
I would use it on meal planning, cooking, and doing the dishes. And here's the thing, I don't mind cooking. I actually like cooking. I like baking. I like being in the kitchen. But it's one of those responsibilities that happens every day. And when you cook, then there are dishes. And that primarily does fall on me. The people that live in my home don't expect me to be the only one to clean up the dishes or even to make the meals. It's just something that I have taken on. And so I feel like something like laundry, I can skip a couple days, get a little break from it. But the meal planning, the meal prepping, the cooking, and the dishes is that constant chore that if I could just have a week off, that would be amazing. So amazing. I'm curious how you two would answer that, honestly. If I can ask, how would you two answer that? What would you use it on?
I agree with you, Emily. Like, I've reached a point where coming up with dinner ideas was not fun anymore. Yeah, I'm with you. And it's so different when you don't have kids at home. The meals just get so simple. So simple, but not exciting. But I'm also not in the mood to cook something exciting. So, yeah, for sure.
I'm not, well, the stressor that's been in my life this week really revolves around finances. So I'm trying to think, like, if I found a hidden immunity idol, how could I use that to, I don't know, maybe the hidden immunity idol was like filled with like pixie dust or something, and it would just give me temporary amnesia from all the things that have to be paid.
It's a genie in a bottle. If when you
Yeah.
rub it,
A
you
money
get three
tree
wishes.
comes up in the backyard and suddenly college tuition is paid for. No, I
There
don't
you
know,
go.
but
Amen.
Well, that hidden immunity idol could get you to the end of the survivor game if we're really going with the analogy. And then if you win, you get the $1,000,000.
yeah.
So you could just not use a hidden immunity idol today or this week, put it in your pocket, save it
You,
for the
you
end.
know,
I mean, if we're really taking the analogy like to the nth degree here.
okay, so let's take this analogy to the nth degree. I want to know from the two of you and our listeners, when she just said that, when Emily just said that, this is a downfall of me. Well, my husband and I. So if we are given gift cards, we hang on to those gift cards like they're super special in some way, which they are because maybe we get to buy ourselves something we wouldn't normally buy ourselves or go out on a date or something. But I'm talking like years will go by and we won't use that hidden immunity gift card. Do you all do the same thing? If somebody gives you a gift card, do you use it right away or do you hang on to it forever?
Send
We
me a gift
spend
card and
it.
I'll let you know.
Yes, exactly. If you have extra, you know my mailing address, but no, you spend it, baby. Like that is a free date
Yes.
night. That is
Okay.
like that actually alleviates maybe some of the financial pressure because you're like, we can go out to eat on somebody else's dime,
It's
Well,
awesome.
right?
as soon as you said you hang on to the hidden immunity idol, Lisa, until the end, I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. You don't even know how right you are. I'll just hold on to it. Oh, too funny. Okay, so the last question I had when it comes to the topic was a luxury item question. So I'll just take that one real quick. So on the show, you're allowed one luxury item. And when I actually did the research for that, it's really not all that much. You're not allowed to bring hardly anything. So for me, I would bring my journal, and that would be for a number of reasons. I'm feeling like paper from the journal might be come in handy if, we had to, I don't know, use it to help make fire or send a note to somebody else or I don't know. I was thinking like a stretch beyond just writing down my secretive play on how I'm going to get everybody else out and be the sole survivor. But interestingly enough, with this question, this is a perfect opportunity to remind our listeners that we have a private Facebook group, and we actually asked this question just yesterday in our Facebook group. And some of the answers were super fun. Like there was somebody who's bringing a Bible. Someone said she loves her cross stitch community, so she was going to make sure that that was a part of what she was bringing. So anyway, if you want to be a part of our own little survivor secret camp, also known as our private Facebook group, this is a place where you can get away from the noise for a quick scroll, and we can sometimes strategize together. So the link to that is in the show notes. Be sure to check it out. All right, so let's move into in coaching, we often say scarcity mindset. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a scarcity mindset versus having a really good foundation. And so on the island, people act out because likely they feel like they're starving and they're exhausted. In life, in real life, this happens every day also. But for women like ourselves in midlife, we sometimes act out because maybe we're emotionally depleted, or again, we could be tired or hungry, or maybe our hormones are feeling hijacked. So, before we talk a little bit about this scarcity mindset, Angela, can you just tell our listeners what I mean when I say scarcity mindset?
So if you think of scarcity versus abundance, so an abundant mindset would be there's always enough, we'll find more, there's enough food, you're my family now, versus a scarcity mindset in the survivor scenario would be I miss my family's not here, there's not enough to eat, I'm so hungry, I'm so tired. Instead of looking at what you do have and what is coming to you and how it's working for you, your brain will go to the negative side and look at kind of glass half empty versus glass half full.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so the opposite of that, when I said versus like having a really strong foundation, is coming into that game or into your daily life, not feeling like all those things you just listed, like you're feeling like you're walking in abundance versus everything is kind of stacked against me. Emily, can you discuss a little bit how, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes here for those who aren't watching us. Can you discuss how, like, survival mode kind of makes us short tempered, not just in the game of Survivor itself, but just in our everyday lives?
Absolutely. I think anytime you talk about survival mode, something that brings you comfort or grounding or stability is missing. So, like on the game of Survivor, they truly are in survival mode, going without food for days on end, sleeping on bamboo or on sand. You're stripped of all of the normal comforts that make everyday life doable. And so I think about even like women in midlife, which we all are, and I think a lot of our audience can resonate with this. Survival mode does feel like what you were saying. Your cortisol levels are probably super high because you've been taking care of everybody and everything for years and years. Your hormones are in a state of transition, needing to switch back to be supported by your adrenal glands, which again are probably stressed out. And so we find ourselves in survival mode, really not even realizing we're in survival mode until we notice the outward expression of that. Being short with our families, feeling discontented with life, feeling apathetic, feeling like low energy, right? And so I just think it's super common to find ourselves in that scenario. And like, what do we do about it at that point? So I know some things that have worked for me is really take care of my health, consult a doctor. We love homeopathy in our house. And so we consult with a homeopath. They can help us recover from whatever it is our body, support whatever it is our body might need. Carefully consider how we're spending our time and energy. This is a big one. Ask for help, right? Which is not easy I'll just raise my hand, not easy for me to ask for help. And then coaching comes into play here. And this is what I think drew us all into coaching. Learn those mindset tools so that when your health does start to stabilize, you can also take control of your thoughts to build that resilience, to become a stronger version of yourself. But I think it all comes into play: your physical body, your mindset, your community, your relationships. So, yeah, talk about survival mode. All of that sounds kind of overwhelming. It might just be easier to go lay on the beach and catch some rays. But turns out, if you want to play the game of life, you gotta, yeah, you just have to find that, find the resources, use them, apply them to get back to a better version of yourself.
That was very well said. I think you summed that up nicely. Angela, do you have anything to add when it comes to kind of what Emily was talking about there was taking accountability. So taking accountability for yourself and asking yourself, am I actually out of resources? Am I just not recognizing the resources I have and likely have paid for? Maybe I've just forgotten. And I know that in your practice, Angela, you talk about, remind me, are they pillars or?
Yes. Yeah. So the accountability piece, I think that a lot of times when we get to the end of ourselves, we end up saying, all we can do is pray. We've tried everything else. But what if we put that first? What if we put prayer as our very first resource instead of when we're all out of options? Now all we can do is pray. So, yeah, when I think of accountability, I think partnering with God first and foremost, and He will add everything you need after that.
Agreed. I don't think I have to sum that up with anything. I think you both you both nailed it. What I will say though is this is a perfect time for me to remind people that if you're listening to this conversation that the three of us are having, and there's some part of it that is making you feel like, yeah, I think I could put that into practice. Or maybe, like I just said, maybe it's something you just needed a reminder. I know I will raise my hand, and these two lovely ladies will be so gracious to just remind me of something I already know, but sometimes we just need a refresher. So, if this conversation is helping you to reframe your week in any way, we would love it if you would please leave us a review because it helps other women find us. And to put it into survivor language, find us in this safe alliance that we have here at the Life Coach Lounge, and let everyone know that you're just not navigating the beautiful oasis of Survivor Island alone. All right, so let's move in, ladies, to negotiating reality. And for me, when I thought about negotiating reality in everyday life, it reminded me of the blind side in the game. So you think the plan is X because everyone's talking about X. And then something happens and you're at tribal council and you're like, what just happened? So in everyday life, Angela, when life hands you think it's X, life hands you Y, how do we kind of pivot?
First things first, process the emotion. So when you get blindsided, what emotion comes up first? Are you angry? Are you grieving? Are you confused? Whatever it is, stay with it. Don't react. Sit with your emotion, process it through. You will think so much clearer if you process the initial emotion that comes to you whenever you're blindsided in life. And it happens to everyone.
And just to touch a little bit on that processing piece, I'm pretty sure we talked about that in, well, I think we've talked about it in a few episodes. And I'm not going to apologize. We will likely talk about this in many more episodes because, as Angela just said, it is like a key component when you're feeling a little derailed. But I know that in episode 42, we talked specifically about derailment. And so that has a lot of suggestions if your life has kind of blindsided you in some way. Emily, how do you handle that when you're feeling like, oh man, not on my bingo card today?
Well, like Angela said, feel the feelings, sit with them. And for me to take that a step further, to not add any shame or judgment that I maybe didn't see it coming. Because there are some, well, I mean, that's why it's a blind side, right? Anytime something takes you by surprise, how could you have prepared for it? So that's something that I've had to remember. This is just life. It sometimes happens this way. Remind myself we just have to go through it because I think there can be the knee jerk reaction to resist or run away or bury it under, push it under the rug, pretend like it's not happening. So I think coming to reality and acceptance of whatever it is, because that acceptance piece I think is super important before you can move forward to see what's possible. So processing the emotions, yes, will help you think more clearly. Accepting what is, even though you didn't see it coming, will take that a step further to help you see clearly. And then you can open up to now what? Now
Mhm.
what do we need? What's the next step? How can we move forward?
And I think in relationship to the game itself, at the end of each episode, when the tribe has spoken and someone's torch is extinguished, I think that for me, sometimes the players that I think walk away with the most dignity don't take it personally. They don't make it about them. So if there has been a blind side or there has been something that clearly came up and they didn't see it coming, they don't trash talk everyone else. And some of them are gracious enough to turn and genuinely give congratulations or good
Well
luck,
played. Yeah.
yes, to the other players. And I think that in life, that is true as well. We have to remember everything that Angela and Emily just said too. But when it comes to the shame and guilt, like just don't take it so personally. Life is sometimes not out to get you, it turns out. Surprise. Surprise.
In addition to that, too, I would say when your torch is snuffed, it is game over for that player, but it doesn't mean life is over. So, like you said, walking away from the game, realizing that was one piece of my life. I played that game. It has come to an end. But if they hang on to that forever and make that into a trauma situation, then they're not going to be able to carry on with life, right? So even whatever it is in our lives that causes us to pivot, it might be a closed door, it might be game over for that situation, but it doesn't mean life is over. So being
Right.
able to pick yourself back up again and keep moving forward is always the goal.
So, as we're talking here about the end of the episode, and as we're getting close to wrapping up the end of our episode, when they are at tribal council and they're voting someone out, in everyday life, we can relate this to kind of voting off the weight that we tend to carry around with us. Whether, as Angela was mentioning earlier, it's our scarcity mindset that we're just showing up with in our everyday lives. Maybe it's part of some emotions, as the two of you just mentioned, that you're just stuffing because we're not going to take the time to actually sit with them. So the challenge can be what we call in the coaching world a limiting belief. And so, would either one of you like to just remind our listeners what I mean when I say, can you let go of a limiting belief to let go of being voted off?
So, a limiting belief is usually a lie that we believe we have come into agreement with that kind of puts a glass ceiling on our thoughts. So it can be, I'm too old to do that. It could be something like Emily mentioned, a trauma from your past where you just have attached shame to it. And so you think, I can't trust anyone. And so that becomes a limiting belief in relationships that you have. Those are a couple examples of limiting beliefs. And the way to break that off is to know the truth. Ask yourself, is this true? And then know God's word to apply God's truth to it. And then practice that new thought, that new intention until it becomes your new belief.
That was well said, Angela. I think too of limiting beliefs as having some very strong language. And we brought this up before on the podcast. Anytime you say, I am a failure, I am a disappointment, that I am statement, be very careful with those because often you can ask yourself, is that true? And then if we use I never or I always do it this way, I never follow through. That kind of strong language is a great indicator to take that thought captive and realize what lie you are believing about yourself. Because your thoughts do become your beliefs if you're not carefully analyzing them.
Yeah, that is the one thing that in this question of something that I continue to notice, full transparency of myself, but I'm much faster to notice when I say words like you just mentioned, Emily, like, oh my gosh, why is this always happening? And then I hear myself say it and I'm like, hold up, let's put this through the lie detector test, shall we? So that would be an example for me of something that I would continue to vote off and let that weight go because it is not serving me. I am so quick to notice when I use that word always. It's always happening. It's always true. I call you know what. All right, ladies, I am going to wrap this up in true survivor fashion and say the tribe has spoken. And we think you're all doing better. All of our listeners, we think you're all doing better than you think. So our encouragement to you this week is just stay spectacular. And until next time, we will see you in the lounge next Tuesday. Ladies, I'll find you later in the Marcos